everyone, welcome back to Garden to Table Bliss. Today I want to talk about how to plant a garden. Some may wonder, where do you even begin? I never wondered that. I just kind of dove in, and then as things popped up, I was like, what do I do next? So some things to consider that come to mind that popped up were, first off, where are you going to plant your garden? What side of the yard? Where do you get sun? Where does the sun set? Where does the sun rise? What zone do you live in? What can you plant where you live? And then when can you plant what you want to plant where you live? Fertilizing. How often do you fertilize? What do you fertilize with? Bugs. How do you get rid of them? Mildew. How do you deal with that? Companion planting. What to plant next to whatever you're growing so that it grows to the best potential that it can. Pollinators. You need pollinators in your garden. Mind blown, didn't even consider that. Pollinators are your bees. They're gonna help to produce the harvest. They're gonna help to produce fruit. So many things come to mind. A watering system. Do you wanna put a watering system or do you wanna go out there every other day? You gotta establish a watering schedule. Do you have an animal? Do you have a pet? I have 2 knucklehead dogs. I had to think about how I was going to keep them out. Dogs love to eat fertilizer, so that was something I had to consider. Okay, so are you overwhelmed yet? Well, don't be, because this video is going to show you step by step how to plan your garden. The first thing you want to consider is where in your backyard you want to put your garden. Now you want ideally a south-facing garden. The sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So if your garden is south-facing, it's going to get the most amount of sun, which is what plants want to grow. So that's ideal. The next thing you want to think about is what type of garden do you want? There's a raised garden, which you build on top of the ground, or you can just put a parameter up and dig in your soil directly. So plant directly or a raised garden. I chose a raised garden because our soil in our area is almost like clay. It's very difficult to dig in, and I was not about to attempt that. I also like the idea of combining my own mixture of soil. Think about that. We have 7 feet by 3 feet garden beds. We have about 5 of them. If you look on Pinterest, you can get some really creative ideas on how to go about making them yourself. I bought mine on Amazon. They're corrugated metal and we love them. This is probably my 4th year using them and they're still holding up strong. Okay, so next, watering. You need to think about how you're going to water your garden. I would go out every night after work and hand water with the hose. I learned really quickly that I was killing all of my plants. All my plants were yellow. So that's a very common beginner's mistake, is overwatering. And by having a sprinkler system, it's really prevented that from happening. So much easier. It waters every other day for about 3 to 5 minutes. They also have what's called a drip system, and that's another option for watering. Google it, look it up, but think about your watering system. Okay, so now the technical stuff. You need to know when the last spring frost date is for your area. So just Google it, type in last spring frost date and type where you live, and it'll give you a specific date. That date will let you know when it's safe to start planting. The frost is over, your plants won't die. So you need to have an idea of when that is. You also need to know what zone you live in. Just type in the same thing, where you live, what garden zone do I live in? Those are 2 very important things that you need to know to determine what to plant and when to plant it. Finally, my favorite part of this whole gardening experience is, what do you want to grow? I spent all of December getting seed catalogs. I have so many seed catalogs. I have a whole shelf over here. What do you want to plant? Go through these catalogs. I have my little tabs. I've actually already ordered and received all of my seeds. But what do you want to plant? I mean, look at all that. So exciting. So take note of what you want to plant. So last year I used an app called From Seed to Spoon. I got it on my iPhone. It's free and it really helped to organize and help me plan out my garden. Let me show you an example. So I drew my beds out, and like I told you earlier, I have 7 feet by 3 feet. I use the square foot method. So on this app, you would go and you'd click on corn, and it would tell you really brief, okay, corn, you can plant 4 per square feet. So then I would go in and write my numbers of how many I can plant. It also on this app tells you what you can plant next to it, which is called companion planting, meaning it's going to bring out the best flavors. They grow well together. It also tells you, let's see, how much sun it needs, when to water it, fertilizing, how deep to plant the seed. This app literally tells you everything, down to what pest may be attracted to each individual vegetable. It also tells you how to treat it. Diseases, so with my cucumbers, they got this mildew and how to treat that. It's very simple to use. It's free. It's very quick to get answers when you're out in the garden. You're like, oh gosh, I can't remember. You just pull out your phone, look, okay, cool. I'm excited this year that another tool that I have been told about is called, let's see, Clyde's Garden Planner. So it has 2 sides, a fall and a spring. So all you would do is, you see the red line, you would go to your frost date, your last frost date for spring, which it makes me think this comes from like not zone 10B, because the farthest it can go is February 8th. So our last frost date was January 25th. So that's as far as it'll go. But it tells you exactly when to plant what, whether to plant it directly into the soil or whether you need to put it in trays and do a transplant later. It tells you spacing, companion. It tells you all of the information that the app did, but all just on a quick resource card. So this again is Clyde's Garden Planner. So I'll be using this as well this year in addition to my app. So these are 2 really good resources to help you get started with your garden. Okay, so now you know where you're gonna plant your garden with optimal sun. You know how you're gonna water it. You know what you wanna plant. You know how to plant it, where to plant it. So congratulations, that's half the battle. I will tell you there's a few other things that you should consider researching before starting your garden. One is combining the soil, so a soil mixtures. I keep it simple. I do organic soil from Home Depot. I put a little peat moss to help keep the moisture, and I put some fertilizer. They have soil tests where it'll actually tell you what you need to add more of. All up to you. Give it a go. Look it up, see what works best for you or what you want to try for your garden. The next thing I would say is you're gonna need pollinators. So for me, I have hummingbird feeders. I also try to plant some flowers in each of the garden beds. I love sunflowers. I have planted marigolds. So those attract bees and hummingbirds and all the pollinators you need to be able to produce some fruit in your garden. Think about that. And I hope I didn't overwhelm you with too much information. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. I just want to share that this is my journey. I don't claim to know everything. I just am sharing what I have learned. So if you have any tips for me, please feel free to share them. I would love to better my garden. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and good luck, and I'll see you next time.